Yo, what's going on, man? It's today is July the 20th, 2023. It's your boy Chris, and this is the ChrisBeCappinn WNBA show. I'm live on Twitter. I'm also live on YouTube right now as well. We got an early start time for today. In case for people who don't follow the W as closely, there's a lot of like camp day games for I think every organization participates in it, and they try to get the campers out there early. So that's why we've been getting a couple early start times for some of these games. So the Dream and the Sun will be the first game that we talk about. After the Dream and the Sun, we'll touch on the Sparks and the Lynx, which is actually my favorite game on the board. Then we'll discuss the Sky and the Mercury as well. And then we'll finish things off with the nightcap. The Aces will be traveling to Seattle to take on the Storm, where they're heavy favorites already in that game. So do me a favor, hit the like button for me as you guys can. Always trying to grow the channel, always trying to spread the good vibes and spread the analysis as well. So hit the like button for me if you guys can as you join, and let's get into it. Before we get into it, I do want to say, uh, transparency wise, 0-2 day yesterday. I was on the Mystics. I actually went to DC yesterday, took the Mystics in the first half, knew they were shorthanded without Elena Delavadon, didn't have Shakira Austin, didn't have Ariel Atkins, which I thought they were still. I knew the Mercury could win the. I knew the Indiana Fever could win the game. I just didn't think it was going to go down like that. So I thought Mystics have been a really good team at home. I thought that they would come out at least had a lead at home. So I took them in the first half. They did not have a lead. They ended up losing the game as well. But shout out to Leah Boston. Shout out to Mitchell. Shout out to everybody that came through. It was a good team effort. So it was a good experience actually going up there, checking out the first game, seeing Leah Boston. I see my man Stephen in the chat, Baby Shaq. Seeing her do her thing yesterday. She almost had a double double, and then really wanted to get there with. So I took the over in the first half as well. Looked like a genius in the first quarter when we had about 46 points, and then neither team could make a shot in the second quarter. So that fell short as well. But definitely looking to get it back today. Don't have a lot of bets that I placed already, and we still got plenty of time. But we don't have a lot of time before this first game starts. So I'm gonna jump right into that. I also want to say real quick. I've been doing a little bit more writing. So for people who don't know, they typically, if you're new to the channel, you may see some of these videos come out. You may see some write-ups that I do, but I've been doing a lot of writing. Some for, just some sports book companies in general. I've been doing tons of reviews, tons of blogs on different sports betting content as well. So I created a Substack, and it's free of charge, where I'll be giving out plays. I'll also be covering some topics that I feel like aren't covered enough in the sports betting world. So you'll see different articles on a lot of different things over there. Subscribe to the Substack if you haven't already. Great opportunity just to kind of learn. We all still, everybody's always learning. I always got that learning mindset. So I enjoy being able to write to help people learn as well. So with that being said, I'll post the link of the Substack so you guys can see it, and then we'll jump into it because, like I said, we only got about what is it, about 15 minutes, 15, 20, 22 minutes before the first game tips off. So let's get into it, man. We got the Dream traveling to Connecticut to take on the Sun. For people who don't know, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people do know, the Dream have absolutely been on fire lately. They have the longest winning streak in the W right now. They've won 7 games in a row. They started the season off pretty well. Then they hit a little slide, and now they're back. They're balling. They went to Connecticut. I'm sorry, they went to Chicago, beat the Sky twice before the All Star break. Come out of the All Star break and absolutely mollywop the Minnesota Lynx in the first half. Then they couldn't make a three in the second half, and they let the Lynx get back in it, but they still were able to win and cover that spread. Now this line actually opened on DraftKings yesterday. They're 5.5 point dogs in Connecticut, and this line actually opened at 6.5. It got pushed up to 7, and now you see the money come back in, and it's actually coming in on them. On the opposite side, you get this Connecticut team. Connecticut, for people who don't know, they were 15-5 heading into the break, which was the second best record in the W. Um, but they are without Brianna Jones, who's done. She ruptured her Achilles, and it hasn't really, mattered. They were, I think, something like 5-2, straight up and against the spread since she got hurt. I want to say 6-1, maybe 5-2 against the spread. Since she got hurt, they've just been running it up, just scoring, playing with a lot more pace. But they ran into a Phoenix team that have been a lot better defensively. We're going to touch on them in just a minute. And they actually lost the game. It wasn't because of their defense, though. They still held the Mercury, only scored 72 points, and they finished 6 points below their team total. But they weren't able to score. They were 17 points under their team total. So, do we think that the Atlanta Dream defense will be good enough to contain Connecticut the way that the Phoenix Mercury was? Or you could just say it was an off game. Alyssa Thomas is somebody that's been hooping, and she only shot 3 for 12 in that game. Really, really, probably her worst game of the season. So, you got the Connecticut Sun traveling back across country, uh, which is typically not the greatest spot. Only 1 day of rest. And Atlanta Dream, like I said, they've been hot, whether they've been at home or on the road. So, the way I kind of look at this game is it kind of feels crazy not to take the Atlanta Dream, but I didn't. Connecticut has a really, really good record off the loss. I want to say there's something like 4-2, 4-2, and maybe uh, 5-1 against the spread coming off a loss. I had it pulled up earlier. I don't think I wrote it down, but so that was one of the reasons why I kind of wanted to stay off this one. I think it's a game where um, you can kind of live bet in my estimation. I think if the Dream have been a really good team as of late, like I said, 7 in a row, win winning 7 in a row, but they have had spurts throughout the game where it's been kind of difficult for them to put it together for the entirety of the game. As I mentioned in the last game, they won and they dominated the first half, but then got severely outscored in the second half and almost had a chance to lose that game. So Sun, as I was saying, I do have it in my notes. 4-1 straight up, 3-2 against the spread off a loss. Only loss outright they had was actually against um, the Aces off a loss. Um, they have a 6 point margin in the first quarter and a 7 point margin in the first half in those 5 games off a loss as well. So maybe we see them bounce back. The Dream typically win because they score a lot of points. So those are my thoughts on the game. Like I said, I didn't bet the game. I do kind of lean towards the under. The total's getting bet up right now. It's 169 and a half. 170 points in the W is a lot of points. But these are two teams that can put the ball in the basket. The last thing I want to mention real quick about this game is that um, I don't know what it is, man. Maybe you just blame the kids, but these teams that have been hosting the camp day games, they've been getting smacked. Yesterday, the Liberty hosted one against the Wings, and they lost that game outright as an 8 point favorite. Yesterday, same thing for the Mystics. I said I was in DC yesterday for the Mystics game. The Mystics were also, that game was closer. It was I think they were like a 2 point favorite or 2.5 point favorite, and they lost by double digits yesterday as well to Indiana Fever. Also, going back to before the All Star break, the Minnesota Lynx, when they were at home, their last game, they were playing against they were playing against the Dallas Wings, and it was their camp day game, and they lost by 30. So I'm not sure if it's the early start time or what it is, but none of that really favors Connecticut in this spot. And I think, with the public is on the Atlanta Dream, and I can see it being an Atlanta Dream spot as well. Like I said, I haven't played anything, but I just kind of wanted to talk about my thoughts around the game. As far as player props, I'm not playing a lot of player props, but I know that Alyssa Thomas did not have her greatest game. Like I said, she was 3 for 12. I look for a big game from her. This Dream defense is not great. Like I said, they've been winning games because they've been scoring a lot of points. Um, Nafisha Collier, who is an absolute monster, just went off for a career high 35 points in Atlanta 2 days ago as well. So Bonner, it could be a good game for DeWanna Bonner. Bounce back game for her. She didn't play that well. But also some of the guards. Dejanay Carrington didn't play well in that last game either against the against the Phoenix Mercury. Um, and yeah, just it could be a big game for some of those role players as well. So if you guys got any thoughts, like I said, this game does tip off in 13 minutes. If you're watching on YouTube, let me know what you're betting. And then if you have a request and you're live on Twitter, send it to me. Let me know what you guys think about this first game. Real quick, I'll go through the YouTube comments. My guy Fremont is in here. What up, bro? Um, I miss you, Chris, in the NBA. Yeah, the NBA will be back soon, man. I'm actually enjoying my break. I've kind of fell in love with the WNBA, and it's been good. So I'm actually enjoying it a lot. Allen says Sun in the bounce back. Dream let up a tad bit in the second half against the Lynx, and Sun need the dub. Yeah, I would agree with that, man. I think this is the game that that the Connecticut could win. Everybody will be on the Dream, but it does feel like a game that Connecticut could win, and they could cover this spread as well. The Dream feel like they are in a bit of a letdown spot eventually, and let's say it like this: I would like the Dream a little bit more if the Sun wasn't coming off a loss to the worst team in the W, in my estimation. So we'll see. We'll see. What's up, Sid? What's up, Jamrock? Um, Rob Maddox said we got some summer action. My guy Malik in here as well. Fremont said he think the Sun were looking ahead, and if that's the case, if they were looking ahead to this Dream team, which both teams play in the Eastern Conference, yeah, we'll see, and they may have this one circle for sure. These teams are 1-1 on the season, with both teams, getting a win earlier this season. So, my guy Stefan, what's up, Stefan? Talk to me, man. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent, bro. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. We got 4 games today, Stefan. Talk to me, man. What's going on in this first game?
Man, everything bumped. Like I really like Alyssa Thomas, like you mentioned. Like I took her assist at 7.5. Now it's 8.5. The one that's like kind of sticking out to me a little bit from player prop wise is the rebounds. Like one of Ryan Howard or Alicia Gray is going to grab 5 or 6. Early in the season, like Gray had multiple games where she had like I would say 8 rebounds versus the Sun. But I'm going with Ryan Howard at like -128. I just think that like she plays a small forward position. This is like so classic me. Like I know someone's gonna get 5, and then I'm gonna probably pick the wrong one. But I'm gonna go with Ryan Howard. I like her rebounds. I don't know if you realized last game, but like they did this weird thing when they're benching Cheyenne Parker.
Yeah, why did she come off the bench? I still never got no clarification on that.
And then they're like, "Oh, it was a matchup decision," and like she's not starting again today. So if they're like the Dream are a very good team, but like if they're not missing Cheyenne, like I'm surprised like the spread is so low. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what's her name? Mitchell, right? Her Thomas. The coach name. I can't think of her name. Uh, but I think I'm not sure what she's doing. I did watch that game. And Alan says it in the chat as well. He says Cheyenne Parker's situation is tricky too with the Dream. Yeah, I understand they got like a bunch of guards, but I kind of feel like they may need Cheyenne a little bit more today. Just to slow down some of the front court. Not necessarily the back court, because the Connecticut strength lies in their front court. I think more so than their back court. Like their guards aren't consistent enough. So maybe you need Cheyenne Parker. And it's crazy because she's coming off an all-star game, like being selected to the all-star game, and then you don't get a start in the next game. That's interesting to me. I don't have any, big, overwhelming thoughts like, on that situation, I guess. But just it's weird to me. I'll say that.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have a ton of leans in this game. I think like one of those 2 guards, I think they both could get it, honestly. But one of those 2 guards, I think is definitely going to get 5 or 6 rebounds. It's probably going to be Gray because I think it's Howard. But yeah, but the other games, I like the other games more. Like you mentioned that Lynx game. Like I think that Lynx game is really interesting because your girl Lexi Brown might be back today.
I saw that, and I'm gonna get to that game. It's actually my favorite game on the board. We're gonna get segue into that game real quick. But Alan got another good point in the chat, and I saw this as well. Alan, appreciate you mentioning this. He said these 2 teams do play again on Saturday in Atlanta too. So sometimes in those situations you kind of you can benefit from staying off the first game and kind of seeing what happens in the first game, and then reacting to that in the second game. Because if one of these teams play performingly worse than they're anticipated to, it'll be a good spot to kind of take them in the bounce back, maybe in the next game on Saturday. So I like that. I appreciate you sharing that as well, Alan. That was something that I saw, but I did not write down in my notes. So like I said, no official play for me, but I kind of do lean towards the under with the total going up now. I think both, at least Atlanta has done a really good job of playing a little bit better defense. They held the game on Tuesday, went under against Minnesota, and they were able to slow down the Sky, who also just can't score that much in general. So I kind of lean towards the under, but it's nothing official for me, and I don't want to take too much time on this game. So let's keep going. Next game up, we have the. Let's see what I got on the banner. I think it goes to the Minnesota game. Yeah, so we got the Sparks traveling to Minnesota. This will be the Sparks' first game out of the break. This will be the Lynx' second game out of the break, of course. Like I said, they just lost to Atlanta on Tuesday. So both of these teams are on pretty long losing streaks. You look at the Sparks. They've lost six in a row. A lot of it is due to injury. So 6 games in a row they've lost, and also they didn't cover any of those games either. Three straight losses, and all three non-covers as well for the Minnesota Lynx in this spot. These teams have already played 3 times throughout the regular season. The Lynx have won each game, and they were a dog, so they 3-0 straight up and against the spread. Winning those games is 5-point dogs, 5-point dogs, and 6-point dogs in those games. So I'm a real big fan of Kurt Miller, who is the coach for the Los Angeles Sparks. But I also like I like the Lynx as well. And no, fanboy stuff aside, I think the reason why I like the Sparks is because they play the game the right way. However, they are losing games because they haven't been 100%, and I still don't think that they're 100%. I saw a short interview. It was the last game before the All Star break with Lexi Brown. She was getting interviewed, and she said that she was going to stay in LA and wasn't going to go out. I don't think she was going to go out to Vegas so that she could, work and rehab to try to get herself back in play. She hasn't played a game since June the 14th. So she's been out for over a month. I do think that if she comes back, she's going to be a bit rusty. She may have a minutes limit as well. But looking at this Lynx team, man, this Lynx team is pretty interesting as well. They and this is why I play the Lynx. I'll go out and say that as well. But here's the reason why. They have first of all, they have a game underneath their belt already. I kind of like that for them being at the Minnesota Lynx. I also like that they're coming off a loss. You get a lot of these teams that are super motivated. Not that the Sparks won't be motivated because they're coming off 6 straight losses as well. But the Lynx have played really. You got to notice these trends. A lot of the teams in the W are really, really good or they're really, really bad. And right now, the Sparks are one of those teams that are really, really bad, and it's due to injury. The Lynx have played really good against the bottom 5 teams in the league. They're 8-3 straight up and against the spread versus the bottom 5 teams with 8 straight wins and 8 straight covers. But meanwhile, when they're playing against teams that that have a top 6 record, they're 1-9 straight up, 3-7 against the spread when they're facing the top 6 team in the W. And this was something that I wrote about. It's actually I published this in the Substack article when I was capping the game last night. So all of those reasons kind of make me made me look towards the Lynx. I also say this about the Sparks. During their 6-game losing streak, they're averaging just 75 points, and they're allowing 90 points, shooting just 40% and just 29% from the three. And the Lynx are the worst defensive 3-point team in the league. They allow the most made threes on the season, and they allow teams to shoot the second best percentage from the 3-point line. But the Sparks struggle to actually shoot the three. They actually rank 11th in 3-point field goal percentage, and they're dead last in 3-point makes. So what I'm saying is that the Lynx, while they do have a major blemish in their defense, it's not something that the Sparks typically capitalize on because it's one of their weaknesses. So for those reasons, I did play the Lynx. It's so funny because DraftKings actually always opens up the lines first, and the line was +1. They were actually dogs. The Lynx were. And before I could hit the button, it flipped to -1 just like that. So I played the -1. I gave out the money line to my YouTube channel because it hadn't moved too much. I think it was like -130. Now it looks like they're all the way up to 3.5-point favorites, which I think I was still kind of late at 3.5 as well. But I'm definitely not making that recommendation because I got a much better price, which is why you kind of got to jump on these lines live. So I do lean. I already played the -2.5. I'm sorry, I played the -1, gave out the money line when it was -130. I probably would still play it, and I would also look towards, I think, the over. I think both of these teams being a little fresher, the Sparks should be getting back a little bit of that offense, even though they've been flying under the total, and the Lynx still could struggle on defense. I actually leaned Lynx early in this game as well. I saw the reports from the coach come out and say that, we understood that the first 5 minutes of the game in Atlanta, we didn't show up. And it was pretty embarrassing. That's when Atlanta was hitting all the threes. They jumped out to a big, big lead. gave up 30 points, I think, which is crazy because NBA teams sometimes don't get the 30 points, playing 12-minute quarters in the first quarter. So I actually like Lynx to bounce back early in this spot as well. I just didn't play the first quarter. Stefan, what are your thoughts on that, my brother? Like, talk to me about that game.
Yeah, everything you said, I agree 100%. I really like the Lynx in this spot. I can't find a prop to play, but I do like Jordan Canada today. Like, I can see her assist or points hitting today. The most obvious one to me is, like, Nafisa Collier. Like, NECA has nothing for her. Like, they played 3 times. She had, like, 24, 25, 26. Like, 2 of them were in L.A. Like Diamond Miller is in there now, who's, like, their top draft pick. So she doesn't get as many shots as she did before. But Collier should eat. I really like that 20 and a win at plus 164. Like, I already have the money line, so I don't want to, like, play the money line and that.
Right.
I really like that plus 164. And another one, I'm going to wait to see what the starters are, but Hamby, if she's starting, because these lineups are so janky sometimes, but if she's starting, I'm going to take her rebounds at 6.5. Power forward's been eating on the glass against the Lynx, and she had 9 and 2 times they play. So if she gets the minutes, she'll get the rebounds, but I just got to see if she's going to start to get the minutes first, though.
I like it. I also think, Stephen, just kind of looking at it from a player prop perspective, I think that, I saw something that said that Kayla McBride and Diamond Miller combined, I think they go 7 for 21 from the field in Atlanta, and they're not going to win the game like that. Like, you can't ask for more from Nafisa Collier. She had a career high 35 points. Like, 35 points in a W game is crazy. I think only like 5 players have had 40 this season, which is also crazy. But I do think that, some of these other players got to step up. I think it could be Diamond today, Stephen. I really, really do. I think it could be a Diamond game. Not to talk too much on this game, but I also think, what's my girl name? Rachel Brenham. For people who watch the Lynx, she is a prolific shooter off the bench. This girl can light it up. And she hurt her wrist right before the All-Star break. No, a thumb right before the All-Star break. And then the beat writer for the Minnesota Lynx also just tweeted out earlier that she's going to be reevaluated over the next couple of weeks. So they'll be without her as well, which will be some more offense that they'll be missing. Could be some more opportunities for, somebody like Diamond. Diamond, even though she's a rookie, her confidence is not on a rookie scale. She goes out there and she shoots that thing. She lets it fly. So I think Diamond could get there just off volume alone. But I don't want to discredit the Sparks defense, because they do play, pretty good defense. They don't win the game. They don't lose games because because of their defensive effort. They lose games, frankly, just because they don't have enough offense and, just because of talent level at times. So I like the Lynx a lot today. If you haven't, gotten in on the money line when I gave it out, you're not a part of the YouTube community, or you haven't already subscribed to the Substack, I would look for them live. I do think that they win the game and they bounce back. The Sparks are a team that I'm gonna be looking to back in the second half of the season, but it won't be today. And I want Lexi Brown to get a couple games under her belt as well. But the De'Erica Hamby, I can see her, playing well in this game. She'll have ample opportunity, Stephen, because besides, NECA, they don't have a lot of scoring. Jordan Canada should also have a good game as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you caught last game when Diamond. Like, I was riding with her points last game, and she was on her way, and then she didn't play. I don't know what it is, man. It feels like right now these coaches are, like, all on that Dwayne Casey. Like, you don't know who the hell's going to play, how many minutes. And it's like she only played, like, 16 minutes, which was, like, 8 under her usual. Like, I had some stuff in the Liberty game yesterday where, like, Benai Jelani, she usually always plays 30. She only played 23. So I don't know if that's, like, the coaches are pacing the players in the middle of the season, or do you have any thoughts on that? Because some of it, like with these players, like they'll have good spots, but they just won't play.
No, I think with Diamond, she's a boom or bust type player. Like, when I watch her play, so I think it's more so like if she's rolling, she could stay in, and coach will let her fill it up. But if she's not, I feel like they'll try to go to somebody off the bench, because they don't want her to, they'd rather her go 4 for 13 versus 7 for 20. Because Domino, she'll keep letting that thing fly.
Oh yeah, she's a bully.
Yeah,
especially against the Sparks, she'll kill if she gets the minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing, if we're not overthinking this stuff, and like, even though she is coming off a 35-point game, I typically don't like playing players off the back-to-back, taking them over their points in the next game. But Nafisa, like, she's been feasting. Like, they don't have anybody that can guard her. She has the smoothest fadeaway, from that low post position. She works extremely hard to get that position, and she's a bucket. Like that turnaround is, pretty immaculate. So I couldn't blame anybody for wanting to take Nafisha to go over her points again, even though it is the Sparks. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We got two more games to get through real quick, and we're 27 minutes in. Also, the first game about to tip off, and I do want to go and enjoy that. So let's go to the Sky and the Mercury. This is a game that is a bit weird to me. The Sky have been underperforming, pretty bad. They haven't been able to get any wins. I want to say that they are on a 3-game losing streak before the All-Star break. All 3 of those games were actually at home, and twice were to the Dream, and then one was to the Sun. In the last 3 games, the little bit of offense that they've had has kind of fallen off a cliff, where they have the offensive rating of just 91.2, which is the worst in the league over the last 3 games, and their defense is actually tied for the 3rd worst as well. They're also the 2nd worst rebounding team over the last 3 games, and they rank bottom 5 on the season. So when I'm thinking about teams that can't score, I just mentioned that they are the worst offensive rated team. Defense is 3rd worst, and they can't rebound. I can't bet on this. I can't bet on this guy. I did see a practice where a video of them practicing. It looks like they, trying to tighten some things up, of course. But I can't bet on this guy, man. I know that the line is kind of moved in their favor, but I'd be taking the Mercury. I know Diana Taurasi is already out, but in the last 6 games, if you take the games out against the elite teams, which the Mercury did lose against the Liberty and the Aces, even though they were close against the Liberty in New York, a couple weeks ago. If you take out those last 3 games, and the reason why I'm using the last 6 games is because that's when Vanguard got fired, their coach, and they brought in Nikki Blue. And, she's really kind of harped on their defense. They also have an assistant coach who's very defensive oriented as well. I forgot her name. But they're 3-1 to the under in those games. And those games are actually staying under by 13 points. They're holding opponents to just 40% shooting and 36% from the 3-point line. And to put that in perspective, since Nikki Blue took over, the Mercury are a -2 for the full game, outside of the Aces and the Liberty games, if you take those games out, because those are probably the best maybe 2 or 3 teams in the league, depending on where you rank the Liberty. But before the coaching change, they were 3-10 straight up and against the spread, and they were a -8 across those 13 games. So they lost twice to the Lynx, but they beat the Sparks and they beat the Sun in that time span. So I actually kind of got scared last night, if I'm being honest. I should have took the under immediately. It opened at 158. It's all the way down to 154.5. Both of these teams rank 11th and 12th in pace over the last 5 games. Both teams rank 9th and 10th in offensive rating. And granted, it's only 12 teams in the W, so that lets you know that both of these teams are bottom 4, over the last 5 games in pace and offensive rating. This will be the second matchup of the season. The first one was the second game of the season all the way back in May, and the Mercury actually lost that game as a 4-point favorite. They lost that game by 7, 75 to 69. I'm sorry, they lost by 6, 75 to 69. And that game actually went under as well. It closed at 160, and it stayed under by 16 points. So I think that this is another game that could go under. I'm not a fan of betting totals, below 155. I mean, that's literally like 75 to 75. But the Mercury have been playing so slow, man. They've been playing so slow. It actually worked in their favor really, really well against the Connecticut Sun when they took my money on Tuesday night. I think that, Chicago should want to get out and run with a little bit more pace instead of trying to set up in the half court. But if the Sun can if the Mercury can take care of the ball and they're not turning it over, I think that they have a chance to win this game, man. I'm not looking to back this guy, and I could be totally wrong. I could be, a bad read, but I think the Mercury have a chance. So this is a game that I'll probably live bet as well. I don't, want to put money on the Mercury, but against this Sky team, I'm definitely not putting any money on either. And the line is kind of moved in favor of the Sky. So maybe, the public is right in, taking the Sky, because I do want to say that they opened as dogs. And then they actually, laying 1.5, 2 points on some books, but I think the consensus is +1. So lean in that game will be Mercury, and it also be towards the under, even though it's already been kind of bet down to a point where I'm scared to jump in now because I was too chicken to jump in yesterday when it was 158 when it opened on DraftKings, and I probably should have just hopped in then. No DT. I feel like the Mercury offense will struggle even more. Um, Even though they have Suggs sitting off, coming off the bench, she's a pretty good playmaker, and they also got some other guards that can score the ball and facilitate as well, but not like DT can. And I think the Sky can just continue to struggle as well. Player prop wise, I think Copper could have a really really big game. She's boom or bust as well. But the Mercury are not a strong defensive team. Um, well, at least they weren't in the beginning. So she feels like she can kind of get in the groove and score the ball. Sophie is a bad girl for the Mercury. She shot the ball extremely well in the last game against Connecticut. I think she hit 4 threes, had her tongue all out doing Jordan. And without DT, I look for her to try to continue to score offensively as well. So those would be leans as far as player props, but nothing official for me on this game at all. Stefan, you got any thoughts on this game, my guy?
Yeah, I got a couple. I took the Sky, but I don't blame anyone for betting the Sky because if you plan on watching or want to back it, like the Sky are a pretty janky team. They'll just forget how to play basketball for 10 minutes for no reason. So I don't blame anyone, but I just took the Sky because I'm just fading the Mercury. Like, they remind me of, like, the Knicks in a way. Like, when Brunson didn't play, like, Taurasi's the adult in the room. Like, they already don't have, like, a lot of good players. But, like, when Taurasi's not out there, like, she kind of gets them in their sets, gets them set up, knows, like, okay, like, yeah, the team's going on a run. Just throw Brittany the ball in the post. Give it a ball. Even if they triple, she'll pass it back out. She'll, like, give it a ball again. But it's not available. I love Schertz's assist. I doubt we're going to get it today. I agree with you 100% on Clea Copper. Like, this is the perfect game where, the Mercury's front line is just, like, not formidable. Like, Brian is really good on centers, but their 4s, their 4 and 3s are, like, really soft. So I love Copper. And the one is, like, a system play. She's, like, a janky power forward with her rebounds, but it's Alana Smith, 5.5 rebounds.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I've kind of seen with, like, the Sun is, the Mercury, is basically, like, Brian is, like, such a lot to handle down low that you have to double team, and the centers always has their hands full. And usually, like, the power forward is, like, always on the weak side grabbing rebounds. If you just look at those Mercury box scores, it's same, like, DeWanna Bonner. Like, she's a player who only gets, like, 5 or 6 rebounds. She got, like, 10 last game because it's just, like, yeah, the center needs help from the guard. Brian is still going to shoot it. The power forward is, like, all alone on the weak side. So those are looks I like for this game. I'm riding with this guy mostly overall, but it wouldn't shock me if the Mercury won this game. It's just like I'm just fading the Mercury every time if Taurasi's not in there.
Yeah. What? Hey, real quick, Stephen. What are your thoughts on BG today? I feel like she's like kind of like finding her game, and she has such a big impact because she's like 10 times taller than every other player. She has such a big impact on the defensive end, and I think that's one of the things that really slowed down Connecticut. If you're not a team that can play outside in almost, it's going to be really difficult to score against the Mercury, which sounds weird. But BG she disrupts so much stuff down there. She was throwing Bonner shot. She was making it hard for it. They put her on Alyssa Thomas, of course, because Alyssa Thomas doesn't want to shoot outside. She wants to try to get inside the paint, and that's really disrupted Connecticut's offense. What are your thoughts on BG? Like, do you like her like defense, like offensively or rebounds? Like, do you have any thoughts on her?
Yeah, actually, I like the points and the rebounds. I've seen, like, I think her points open at, like, 21 and a half, and now it's at 19 and a half. And I'm probably going to have to take it because, like, whenever it's, like, BG under 20, like, it's just, for me, it's just, like, feels like an auto bet.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like, the thing with the WNBA is, like, there's really good teams, but there's players who are just uncoordinated. Like, Elizabeth Williams on the Sky, like, she's their center.
Mm-hmm.
And she just is so uncoordinated where it's just, like, if you get any big who has, like, any mobility, fluidity, a post-up game, like, I'm just like, yeah, take the points every time, look at the results. So I like BG today, especially given the fact that, like, the Sky are a team that, like, are just going to, like, blow out the Mercury. Like, that's always the fear with BG. It was just like, is the game going to stay close enough for her to play for 4 minutes? But the game stays close. Like, her game 20 points that's something I really like. Yeah,
I mean, it makes a lot of sense to me. Just because we don't expect this game to get out of hand. I don't think the odds makers don't. As you guys can see, the spread is 2, 1.5, 1. These are two, very similar teams. We'll have to see what the impact of not having, Diana Taurasi today looks like for them. But that's just kind of those are my thoughts. And I think Brittany Garner being in a close game, especially being at home. They also go on the road after this against. I want to say, oh, actually, they'll be in DC for this weekend. They play the Mystics, which I'm not even sure if that's a winnable game. I don't think that should be a winnable game for the Mercury, but we'll see. We'll see. I think the Mystics should be able to kind of use their defensive prowess to turn that team over, but they are still going to be shorthanded. I don't think some of those players won't be back. So we'll kind of see how that goes. But second game of a 2-game homestand before they travel out, out east to come to DC. So all right, enough on that game. Like I said, I lean towards the Mercury on the spread, even though that sounds weird to say. And I lean towards the under, even though it's already down to 154.5. Neither of best that I placed, but like I said, the offensive firepower is limited for both teams. The defensive intensity has been good for both teams recently, and both teams are playing so slow. So maybe if both teams start off really, really fast and we get a total back up to 158, 159, I'll probably jump in on the under and take it live. So that's how I'm kind of looking at that game. Last game on the board, we have the Aces, who are the cream of the crop, tip top, whatever you want to call them. This is the superior team in the W. They'll be traveling to Seattle to take on the Storm tonight. This is the nightcap game. 16.5-point favorites. I saw the line open at 17.5. It's actually come down for the Storm to 16.5. The total, I think, opened at 169. It's up to 170.5. So some money's coming in on the over. And real quick, just checking in on this Connecticut game. It's playing out exactly the way that I thought. Connecticut, 4 minutes left, 4 minutes and some change left in the first quarter. And you just see a lot of energy and effort from the Connecticut Sun, which is what I thought we would see. Atlanta has 8 points and Connecticut has 17. So that first quarter spread that I talked about at the beginning of the show is looking like it's going to be good money, but we'll see. There's still a bunch of time left. I think I like the energy that they're playing with right now. So we'll see how it goes.
Chris, yeah, crazy. Like if this was the NBA and like the Knicks just decided to not play Julius Randle for a half against like the Boston Celtics, like people would be going crazy.
Oh, absolutely.
What the hell are you doing?
Absolutely. Oh, they call for Tibbs for Tibbs' job every game anyway. So it get real crazy in New York. Yeah, y'all might start a riot up there, sir.
Yeah, for real. No, it's just I don't know. Like I really like the WNBA. Like I think that like it's a good product, but it's just like they just do these things. Like why is there a game at 11:30 in the morning? Like back-to-back days.
No, that is weird. That is weird. I like early basketball, but I don't like for it to be that early. If I'm being honest, I mean, it was the reason why I decided to do the show. It was the reason why I decided to do the show a little bit early today, just so we could kind of talk that game out. And wish I probably had played that first quarter that I was talking about, but maybe I'll jump in on something live as well. All right, let's go last game. So we got the Aces and the Storm, like I talked about. Aces laying heavy favorites on the road, 16.5-point favorites. The Aces have they lost to the Wings. I don't know if people remember that a couple of weeks ago before the All-Star break, and afterwards they've really been a juggernaut. They were a juggernaut before. They lost to the Wings, and then they've been kind of just smashing everybody since then. This will be the third time that these two teams have faced each other. The first one was the first game of the season. The Aces went into Seattle, beat Seattle by 41 points, 105-64. And then they played again on June the 15th. That game was in Los Angeles, and they beat them by 33 points. They beat them 96-63. So winning the games by average of 37 points. And those games they cover both spreads. I'm not looking to take the Storm in this spot, but 17 feels like a lot. I think the Aces first half spot is -9.5. The first quarter is 5.5, I want to say. And the Storm have been the worst first quarter team in the league so far in the W, like throughout the entire W. So I think the way you attack this one, now I'll also say this: the Dream. I'm sorry, not the Dream. The Aces do have a couple of road games coming up. I want to say they play the Lynx again. And I think it might be one more road game before they go back home, and then they got like 3 games in a row, couple games in a row at home, and then they'll go out back on the road again. So Aces, this team is offensively, they're one of the best offensive teams. Actually, they're the best offensive team that the WNBA has ever seen, or at least they're on pace to be right now. If the season was to end right now, so I kind of lean towards Aces team totals in this one, but I don't like playing the team totals at the full game team total. So if you're on a sports book that has the first quarter, first half team totals, I think that the Aces come out here, stick it to the Storm early. And then the Storm do that thing where they, kind of try to make it competitive in the third quarter. I think, really slowing down Joel Lloyd is going to be key. Ezzy Magmagor has been playing well, and the Aces have actually been giving up, quite a few points in the paint. But with how fast the Storm play, I checked this earlier. They're actually third in pace um, throughout the last 5 games. I think they're fourth in pace throughout the entire season. And then the Aces on the road are the fastest paced team in the league. So when you're telling me pace, I think the Aces are going front up and down the floor. I'm not sure if they cover these spreads or not, but I do think that they get to their team total. Their team total today, I think, is like 94 and a half. And then I want to say the Storm team total, I looked at it was 76 and a half, 73 and a half, one of those two numbers. I want to say 76 and a half. They failed to score that many points in either game. But the Aces, they do, if they ever take their foot up off the gas, it typically is on the road where they're 8-2 straight up, but the Aces are 5-5 against the spread. So um, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'll may get there on the first half team total. I may get there on the first half spread because I do think the Aces are just a monster, and I think that they don't have a look ahead spot. One other thing that I picked up on throughout the All Star break is that the Aces, um, listening to Asia Wilson, she was interviewed throughout the game, and she was saying that they with a straight face, she said she don't even think that they've tapped into their potential yet. She think that they can get a lot better, especially on the defensive end, which to me just means that they're going to win games by even more points, because their offense is absolutely elite. Becky Hammond also said the same thing. She really wants her team to focus in on the defensive end. So I think that I think this could be another 20-point win for the Las Vegas Aces in this spot. But if I'm playing them, what's been really really good for me, I want to say maybe like 12-3 against the spread is them in the first half. They typically have a 16 point lead at halftime, and the 9.5 doesn't really scare me a lot, specifically when I'm betting on this team. Not when I'm betting on other teams, but when I'm betting on this team, it doesn't really scare me a lot at all. Stefan, what are your thoughts on this game, on this last game that we got on the board tonight, my guy?
Yeah, man. I love the way you broke that down. I love that 9.5. I do like the team total as well. A big reason I like the team total, to your point about Becky Hammond, is like she tries to keep the team sharp because so like kind of a sneaky thing is like they blow all these teams out, and like it'll be the fourth quarter and it'll be up 25 points, and they'll still have the starters in. Because I think Becky Hammond just figures like, yo, I got to keep my team sharp. Like, I can't just play them every game like 23 minutes because we're killing teams. So that's why you'll see like I think before the break they're playing the Sparks and they were up like 35 points and like Kelsey Plum's still in the game jacking up threes. So that's what I love about the Aces. Like they're the one team with the team total. Like they're not gonna stop. Like the backups come in, they never play, so they're gonna be pulling threes. Like so I love the team total. I love the first half spread. It's juicy, but I also really like Asia Wilson's 8.5 rebounds. Like with the Storm, it always just turns into a track meet whenever you play them in Seattle. Like, they have like this new center who plays now, but like basically like the centers are the rebounds are gonna be there. Asia Wilson has a great track record against the Storm grabbing rebounds. So yeah, it's tough. Like player prop wise, like everything is so jacked up with all these players. And like I always make the point that like the team is so good that like everyone just cannibalizes themselves. Like Age will start with 15, finish with 18 points, or Jackie will start with 18, finish with 22, or Kelsey will start with 13, finish with 17. Like it's just too tricky. But I do like the rebounds, and I do like the assists. Like I don't know if you know, but like DK has like a little same game feature. So like I haven't locked it in, but one I really like is like you could take like the Aces to score 90 points. You could water down Chelsea Gray's assists, get her to 5, and get Angel Wilson at 8 rebounds at like plus 150. So I really like that one. So I might like that, lock that in later if everything goes well early in the slate today.
Okay. I could not talk you off. Like I said, this is a late cap game. We still got plenty of time. This game doesn't start until 10 o'clock Eastern time tonight. So I could not talk you off of that at all. Could not talk you off of that. And I'm curious as your thoughts real quick. One more question for you, Stephen. What do you think about, like, if you're playing the team totals, would you play first quarter, first half, or full game? Which one would you play? Like, which one of the two, I guess, would be your favorite? And tell me why.
It depends the team. Like, I trust like the Wings, and with the Aces, I trust the first half and the full game. Like, it sounds so crazy, but it's like such a wagon. Like, they play these like terrible teams, and then like they just do the Aces thing. Like they had like a first quarter where I think they only scored like 12, 13 points, whatever, and they scored like 35 in the second quarter. And they just like came downhill like an avalanche. Like,
right.
They shoot so many threes. They're the one team in the league, like them, and like I feel like the Dream, where like they'll shoot so many threes that even if they have a cold stretch, you're still like, all right, cool. They're like a hot 3-minute stretch away.
Yeah, I agree. I think if it gets out of hand, if she does if Becky Hammond does go to the bench, it could, their bench is one of the worst in the league actually as well. Like, they do have Clark, who is she's pretty good. Bell's okay, but everybody else, I know they just signed. I'm not familiar with the young lady that they signed, but I know they just signed somebody like yesterday or day before yesterday, and I saw some videos of her getting some shots up. She looked like she can shoot the ball, but like they're needing help on the bench. So I think I kind of lean more towards first quarter, first half, just kind of put the fork in them early, Stephen, and then kind of play, from a big lead, which is typically what we expect from, the Aces, especially when they're on the road. So I think I kind of lean first half, first half, first quarter team totals, but didn't really get there to play either. I kind of just worry about them letting up off the gas just a tad bit at the end, and potentially finishing with 91 points and not being able to get to the 94. It's just because they don't need to. Because if the Storm, if the Aces do play defense the way Becky Hammond wants them to play, the way that they're capable of, then it's no reason to think that the Storm are going to be able to get to even 70 points. They haven't in the first two games where these two teams have kind of matched up. So those are my thoughts there. Any pushback on that?
Yeah, no, I actually think that's a really good point. That makes like a lot of sense. I actually like that. Can I ask you a futures question real quick?
Yeah, what you got?
Yeah, so like there's a stat that like no team in the WNBA has gone back to back in like 2 decades, basically. What do you think about the Wings, bro? Like they're to win the title, it was like plus 13,000 yesterday. Now it's like 6,500, 8,000. Like the Wings are like this dark horse team where they got Tierra McCowan. Like nobody has anything for it in every game. They got like shooting. They have offense. Now their defense is playing better. Like, what do you think about like the Wings as like a dark horse? You have like any take on that?
Yeah, I think the Wings are really, really good, Stephen. They need to. I'll start with where they struggle. They need to shoot the ball better from outside. Like, I think they want to. It's crazy because they're actually, I think, a top 4 team in the league right now. I would kind of drop the Mystics out just because they're injured with all the injuries, especially to their star players. What they've done, like, they really caught my eye when they went into Vegas and they didn't win the first game, but they probably should have. And their size just brings so much so much concern, so many problems for other teams, right? Like the Aces struggled with that. That's why the Aces couldn't get to their team total, because like you said, Tierra McCowan is humongous. Like, she is so big and takes up so much space. But then you still got Howard, you still got Satu Sabali, and these girls are big. Like, they are the biggest front line. And then you still can't sleep on Dangerfield, who she's absolutely not big. She's small, but she's so shifty and quick, and their coach is a very defensive minded coach, and it really just starts and it finished with Arike. She is somebody that's like taking a lot of criticism for her shot selection. She's trying to get her teammates involved. Her assists have been cash. She's been really spreading the ball. But if they can shoot, I want to say, Stephen, they're like 3rd worst 3-point shooting team in the league. And I think you just kind of need that for spacing moving forward. But defensively, they are like really, really good. And I'm kicking myself because I should have took them plus the 8 yesterday, of course. If they're ever dogs of 8 points on the road, I just don't feel like that should be a thing right now. With the way that they're playing, how healthy they are, and how much confidence they have, it's no way possible I could, the only reason I didn't play it yesterday is because, like I said, I was in DC and I should have gated a play out before, but it takes me a while to get to DC. So by the time I knew it, the game had already kicked off, and they were actually winning like 19-15 in the first quarter in New York against the Liberty. Liberty, another team that I just don't trust right now. Laying big spreads.
Oh my God,
yeah, I can't trust them right now. But yeah, I will. I think like you said, it's a super dark horse right now, Stefan. But I would give them the odds over pretty much every other team. I'm not betting against the Aces, of course. But if it was a team that could potentially beat them, especially that has given them the most problems. Like the Aces only lost one other game, and that was to the Sun. And you could kind of just say that DeWanna Bonner just went buku in that game where she scored 40 points, and you can't expect that. That's kind of outlierish. You can't expect that to happen too many times. So only team that's covered twice as well. So we'll see how it goes. But they definitely presented some matchup problems for the Aces, and I think they do that for a lot of teams. So definitely a team I'm gonna be looking to buy on. Don't really like them as favorites as much, Stefan, but as dogs, oh my God, this team is a moneymaker.
Yeah, no, that's facts. And like for everyone who doesn't know, like, because like we're all learning, the WNBA, like they don't do like East versus West in the playoffs. It's just like straight 1 to 8. So I've always made the case that I think the Liberty are like a fake contender. Like everyone has them as this like big 3, but like they're like not that good. Like they're a good team, but like they're not gonna beat anyone, whatever. So I've always made the case of like if the Wings somehow magically got on the side of the bracket where they wouldn't see the Aces till the finals, and there was a scenario like that KD Warriors team where like the Warriors were the clear favorites, and then KD pulled his Achilles, and then the Raptors were the champion. So I've always made the case like, yo, the Aces are definitely going to win, but if something stupid happened, like what would the next team be?
Yep, so, I think that's right. I think that's the right mindset, Stephen, because with Connecticut losing Bree Jones for the rest of the season, I think that I think they're an extremely resilient team. I think it's going to be hard to beat. Like you don't have to beat the Sun. They're not going to lay down for you. Yeah. But I do think that like that's a big injury to overcome and asking them to win the championship. And I know you had kind of given out a future. I remember you talking about it on Connecticut, which I thought was a pretty good. Like the Connecticut Sun are a slept-on team that went to the championship. They went to the finals last year. This dream team is on the up and up. And then outside of the dream, like who is ascending? And I think that what's the Wings are the other team, right? Like they're probably the other hottest team. They're coming off of like what a 35-point win.
Mystics, but like they're just like their whole front court is like injured. So
right. I mean, we still got plenty of time. As the season progresses, the second half of the season just kind of got started. So definitely look out for more videos and more content. But right now, the Wings are they are peaking. Definitely peaking right now. So we'll see. I think that's a really good question, Devin. Definitely something I'm gonna be watching moving forward for sure. Because Arike, if she can, keep going out there getting you 25 and shooting, 45%, 40%, this team is gonna be really, really tough to beat. So yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see. Just kind of wrapping everything up, man. Appreciate everybody for tapping in over on YouTube as well. Daniel has he has a really, really good comment on the Mercury. He said Mercury going for their first back-to-back win of the season. Let's see if they can do it gross game, in my opinion. And I agree, which is why I didn't bet it. Yeah, I would agree there. Shout out to my guy Greg in the chat as well. Daniel said you can get a minus 8.5 on some books, Bet Rivers and Unibet. I like that, Daniel. Daniel likes the Aces first half, like me and Stefan kind of mentioned. I haven't made it official yet, but I probably will get there, especially if you can get the 8.5. I think 9.5 is still good money because I do expect them to have a double-digit lead. Whether they get it in the first half and they hold on to it, or they start the game off slow and they just still, get it in the second quarter and are winning by 14 or 15 points. So I'll probably end up adding the Aces first half. Daniel has the numbers right here. So he says Aces first half are plus 22.4 net rating. The Storm first half are minus 15.1 net rating. He loves the Aces first half minus 8.5. And I like that number as well. Like I said, there's something like 11-3, 12-3 in the first half against the spread, they typically just punish you. They start the game off hot. They're the best first half team in the league, and they typically play their best defense as well in the first half. So couldn't talk anybody off of that. Fahrenheit says Wings next up after super teams, Mystics, and Suns are depleted, and I would agree with that as well, Fahrenheit. So yeah, that's the show for today, man. Only thing I officially played was the Lynx, minus the, like I said, I gave it out on the money line when it was minus 130 last night. But I played it at -1. Other strong looks that I like. So let's talk about this real quick. The Dream are up on Connecticut right now, 27-21, with 7 minutes and 6 seconds left to go in the second quarter. I got to tune in a little bit more. Hopefully, I'm about to stop the show and I'll go kind of jump into that game. But like I said, I really like the Lynx tonight. Sky and the Mercury, I do lean Mercury plus the point and a half. But didn't play that one. Also like Kalia Copper in that game as well. Didn't play her officially either. And then last game, Aces first half will be my favorite bet. Also team total. Aces first quarter, first half team totals continue to go over. It's probably set somewhere between like 47.5, 46.5. And they've been clearing like 50. The Storm also, like I said, playing with top 5 pace, top 4 pace over the last few games. So could definitely only look towards taking the Aces to go over their team total. Whether they come out defensively and play well or not, I just don't think the Storm going to be able to stop them defensively. So those are my thoughts. Best of luck to everybody on your plays. And like I said, if you haven't already, check out the Substack. It's free. Posted it at the top as well. Subscribe over there for free plays, free sports betting content. A lot of blog stuff going on over there. Appreciate my guy Stefan for coming on, tapping in with me as well. Stefan, you got anything you want to take us out with?
Remember how I said it's gonna be one of Ryan or Gray on them rebounds? Yeah, Gray already got 3, so of course I told you just pick the opposite.
You called it, bro. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, just follow if you guys are new to the show, man. Definitely, shoot me a follow. I'll be doing a lot more shows. Just in general, a lot more WNBA shows. I've kind of laid off, MLB. A lot more WNBA shows to come though, especially when we got 4 or 5 games, 3 games. Even if we have 2 games, it'll be a lot shorter show. As today was an hour. But yeah, best of luck to everybody today, man. Enjoy the games, man. I think it's gonna be some pretty good games tonight, and probably be back soon. That's it. I'm out.